The film opens and we see a gentleman named Jim Stone who is an officer in the Las Vegas Police Department. And then we see another young man named David Waters who is also a police officer just like Jim. They both get ready together and reach a place of incident. They both are partners and both are fed up with their poor life, so they want to do something big to achieve and complete their dreams. Afterwards, a senior police officer calls Jim and tells him that a car auction is taking place in the police garage and shows him a picture of the tractor which he wants to buy, so he orders him to go and book that tractor for him. Therefore, Jim inadvertently goes there and meets the garage owner and then ultimately books the tractor for his senior officer. Meanwhile, in the garage, he noticed a strange car whose engine had eliminated it and the car was hanging up with the chain. Seeing the car, Jim wonders and asks the mechanic about the car. Upon inquiring, he comes to know that last week a low-level dealer was caught red-handed who was smuggling drugs by hiding them in the car engine. This makes Jim curious, so he checks the case file of that drug dealer and learns that the dealer bailed $2 lakh to get free from jail, which makes him think that this amount is too much for a low-level drug dealer. All this prompts him to make a secret plan. The following night he goes to a bar, and after meeting David there, he tells him about the rich drug dealer and expresses that he can help the poor like us, but it means that he wanted to loot the drug dealer. After listening to Jim, David becomes worried that the plan is full of risk. But Jim calms him down and says that first, they have to learn about the source of his income and the process of his cash flow. Having no choice, poor David agrees with Jim. The next day, according to the plan, they both begin to keep an eye on that drug dealer and his all activities, so that they could find out the place where he deals drugs. But we see that David is just like a new player in this field. He doesn't know how to tackle a situation like that. Moreover, he is not so bold and sharp, so he cannot contribute much to the operation, and Jim has to take care of all the matters himself. Therefore, Jim, on his vacation evening after being disguised as a waiter, enters a restaurant and follows the dealer, which means the restaurant is owned by the dealer as well. During his spy, he befriends many workers in the restaurant and even with many ladies, only to create ease in his mission, and eventually comes to know that the dealer is smuggling drugs through a laundry truck, so he follows the truck and ultimately finds out his warehouse. After knowing the location of the warehouse, Jim goes to David so that they could proceed with their plan. Upon entering Jim's car, David gets astonished to see a lot of cash kept in his car. Being worried, he asks Jim about the money. He replies that he has worked with the laundry staff for 2 days in the hotel. As repayment, they have given me this much money which he cannot even earn in 2 months as a police officer. So he expresses that it's better to get a job in a hotel where he would get a lot of money, delicious food, and even the sight of gorgeous ladies. Hearing Jim, David wonders how a police officer is willing to get an ordinary hotel job. However, he takes David in front of the dealer's warehouse and shows him all the spy photos he had taken. Upon analyzing the pictures, David sees that there is an industrial freezer inside the building. Moreover, Jim tells him the fact that the goods are only brought to the warehouse and then are not transported anywhere. Then the next day, David visits the office of that dealer and offers the attendant a bribe of $100 and gets the blueprint of the building where the dealer used to keep the drugs. Afterwards, he notices the blueprint and learns that although there is an industrial freezer inside the building, there is a huge safe behind the freeze, so the drugs must be stored there. However, now they think of a way to break into the safe. The next day, Jim calls a German drill-making company and orders a powerful drill. His demand makes the company staff suspect him, and they assume that Jim must be a bank robber. That is why he needs a powerful drill, but they don't care much because their entire business is running with the robbers and thieves who need a drill to pass through a safe and then book their order. Afterwards, Jim and David make a complete guiding chart of the floor on which the safe is present in the building and plan to safely enter the building and reach the safe. According to the plan, they have to pass the floor and reach the safe so that they could make a hole in it using the German drill. They know that the building contains many people and they have to handle them as well. Although the safe is underground, it's a quite difficult task to reach and loot the safe. Jim tells David that the dealer has not assigned any security to the building because he has a lot of insurance regarding the building, and he is so confident that he can't imagine that someone could break into the safe. Knowing that their plan is full of danger, David is pretty worried as he was planning a robbery for the first time in his life. Afterwards, David meets his cop fellow who is a completely corrupt officer and asks for money as they have to arrange the hefty money for the payment of the German drill. The cop takes David to a baking factory, which was a drug-making factory. Upon entering, the factory captures the dealer as hostage while all the ladies there begin to cry, and we learn that the ladies are the dealer's girlfriends. However, after threatening him, the cop gets money from him, and seeing this, David was not happy because the activity was illegal. But poor David, having no other choice, stands still and quiet as he needs money, and moreover, he is also planning a robbery. Afterwards, Jim visits a gun dealer who used to sell guns in the black market. He knows that they would need some guns to carry out the robbery, and they cannot use their service guns during this kind of illegal activity. And this is the only reason he is buying those illegal guns. After getting the guns, Jim shoots the dealer dead so that no evidence could be left behind. Moreover, he has killed the dealer in a way that no one could suspect of them, and this shows that Jim is a pretty dangerous person and he is confident in his missions. Similarly, Jim and David hurriedly collect all the weapons and instruments that are to be used during the robbery and assure that their planning is quite perfect and no aspect is left behind. Then the next day, they take a stolen car and drive to the targeted building where the safe was present. Upon reaching the building, they both silently get inside and encounter a couple. They capture them and tie easily, but we see that the man was opposing Jim too much. So, having no choice, Jim shoots him dead, which makes David sacred a lot, but poor David could not escape right now as he has placed his feet in danger while he doubts that if Jim would not kill him as well. After that, they silently pass the floor and reach the location where the safe was built. Upon reaching, Jim turns on the drill and begins to make a hole in the safe, but soon they both get tired. Then they go to the couple's room and find food which they had ordered but could not eat. So they eat the food. Meanwhile, the tied female has managed to free herself and she is now proceeding to escape, but unfortunately Jim catches him and captures her at gunpoint. He thinks that the lady has seen his face, so she must have died, otherwise she will make hurdle for them, but we see that David, having a soft corner in his heart, appears and stops him from killing, and then again ties the lady and locks her in a room. Next they both again start drilling, but during the work, their machine starts malfunctioning and eventually stops working. When Jim checks the machine, he comes to know that due to overload the machine's belt has been broken. So this makes both of them pretty worried because none of them is capable of repairing the machine and they have a shortage of time as well. However, they both think a lot and get blunt. After a while, Jim gets the idea to break the safe with the help of the big hammer, so that they both start breaking the safe with help of the hammer, but to no avail as the hammer was leaving no effect on the safe and keeps on bouncing back. Hence Jim again starts to think of a new way to proceed. Soon he gets a new idea to bombard the safe. Therefore he collects the powder from his bullets and makes a bomb. Upon making it, he places it in the hole they had made inside the safe. And then with the help of electricity, he bombards the safe, and we see that during the blast both of them got injured, but still they are alive and trying to break the safe as if they both don't want to be dead before completing the robbery. After some try they become successful to make a hole in it, and then David, according to the plan, hurriedly reaches the locker inside it, on which a dial lock was set. Outside, Jim was indicating David to open the lock, and soon with the help of Jim, he successfully opens the lock and gets inside. But upon entering the locker they saw that it was empty. Jim checks the walls of the locker and finds a drawer inside in which many precious gems were kept. Therefore they both got a lot of gems, but David was worried because he thinks that such precious gems could not belong to an ordinary drug dealer, so they might have messed up with a really big fish. However, Jim is fearlessly performing all his tasks. After that, they begin to collect all the precious things while David thinks of the innocent lady and goes to her. She tells him that his 3-year-old son is waiting for her at home. This makes him take pity on her, and he makes a call on her told number, and he doesn't know that he has committed the greatest mistake of his life because that lady was a member of the gang, and through the call, she has awarded her gang the robbery. Jim is completely unaware of this danger, and soon David makes sure that they have called their deaths because they found a hidden chamber full of special weapons. So David instantly goes to the lady and asks her about the guns. She lies that she doesn't know anything about them and begins to cry out loud. Afterwards, David suggests to Jim that they should leave the gems because if they sell them, the gang will find out. But he has no effect, and he tells that he knows that they are looting a big gang, which makes David pretty angry, but Jim consoles him and tells him not to worry as they are about to get rich. He tells them that he has already arranged their escape, and they will fly to the Bahamas instead of their home. Now David has learned that Jim is not a good person because he was planning all this for a long time and thinks as if Jim, after getting his job done, will kill him as well. In this way, they start a fight, and in no time Jim points a gun towards David and warns him to obey him, otherwise he will kill him. After that, he takes David to bring the bags of gems from the locker. After collecting, Jim orders David to kill the lady as she had seen both of them. When David reaches the lady, she strikes her head into the wall and cries, which compels him to take pity on her and leave her, but we see that he shoots Jim dead instead. But when he checks his pockets, he finds 2 tickets to the Bahamas, and he had the wrong intention toward David, but now it's too late. After that, David places all the gems inside the locker and thinks that he would be saved. Next, he takes the lady and leaves the building, and we see that he believes the girl more than Jim. He and the girl drive off to a remote location. On the way, some cars surround his car, and he sees that the number which he called for the lady is written on the van ahead of his car. So he hurriedly picks up his police ID card, but before it, a gangster from the van shoots him dead. And then the lady unties herself and drives along with the other gang members, and we see that David has ended the whole game.